Hello, my teaching family. How is everybody today? Hope you're well. I am okay. So we got some gold news. Go through our baseball, our basketball. Not a bad day in baseball. Basketball lost Oklahoma and Cleveland, which is okay. We're filling it out. Surprised Oklahoma lost again. And by the amount of score they lost. I'm not surprised Boston won. But we had 7.5. So it shows me game 2 was just a fluke that Boston relaxed as we thought they would. And then we had Cleveland rated higher going, well, they're going to stay in the game. They might not win it. It's a big number, 7.5. And then they get blown out. So let's start with the baskets today. New York at Indy. Indy's laying 5.5. They won game 3 by like 5.5. Must win. They're down 2-1. They lose. They're down 3-1. I like Indy here. I don't like laying the points, unfortunately, but when I'm looking at it as a must win, they go down 3-1, it's all over, right? They're not that good that they're gonna go in and blow them out or beat them. Denver Mini, what do we do here? Mini wins the first 2 in Denver. Denver now wins game 3. Denver must win. Denver's figured them out enough that they won. I'm going to go Denver here. Again, they can't. I get 2.5. Just simply because they're a good team and they have to win. They go down 3-1. It's over. And I know I've seen this before in these series when the team wins the 2 games on the road, they tend to lose the 2 games at home. And it's a scratch your head moment. That's our 2 games, Indy and Denver. They're both must win. Let's see what happens. Indy's at home. Let's go to Major League Baseball. So yesterday, I'll just give you the results. So Minnesota, it lost. Baltimore wins. Pitt over 6.5 wins. Boston under 8.5 wins. Atlanta over 7.5 loses. Atlanta doesn't hit like you think they do. They don't score that runs. Philly wins. Yankees lose. Houston under loses. Of course, the Tigers. Any way you play the Tigers, I'm just not going to play them. Cleveland over 8 loses. St. Louis over 7.5 wins. Cincinnati, which was our only play yesterday, lost. Texas over 10 wins. LA wins. KC loses. Seattle loses. So I only had one play since it loses. So what do you gain out of this is the matchups. How does pitcher A pitch for team against team B? And we see how pitcher A pitches against team C, D, and E. They're 5-0 with a 1 ERA, but when they face team X, they don't do so well. Now you're really getting into it. You really got to chart baseball. So you got to look at the pitcher against the team, but it's too early for that. They haven't faced half the teams. So really, can this team hit this pitcher? Not the other teams hitting the pitcher. We're getting there. Again, this is a work in process. It's the only thing that explains it because the pitcher with the 2 ERA and he gives up 6 runs, you're like, he's got a 2 ERA. Yeah, against these 5 teams, he's got a 2 ERA. Against these 5 teams, he's got a 6 ERA. Aha. So that's really what you're looking at. So we're getting there. So let's just use what we have now. We got Arizona and Baltimore. Baltimore minus 137.5. Zach Gallen for Arizona, 4-2 with the 2.84 against Dean Kramer, 3-2 with the 3.57. Here you go. Zach Gallen against the teams he's played, 4-2 with a 2.84. Against Baltimore, who knows? So if we look at it, Baltimore is they're the much better team. If we look at Arizona, they got a weak ERA, 4.40, and a 2.50 batting average, where Baltimore's got a 3.31. Baltimore's the better team here. Let's go Baltimore. But I don't love it. Washington, Boston. Boston with a great bullpen. Mackenzie Gore for Washington, 2-3 with a 3.44. Brian Bello, 3-1 with a 3.04. Let's go under in this game. And the under 7.5. The Cubbies in Pittsburgh. Again, we have this game. We hit it yesterday. Pitt over 6.5. They scored 20 runs. So they score a lot more than you think. Kyle Hendricks, 0-3 with a 12 ERA. Bailey Falter. So we're going to go over here, Pitt. And we're going to make this a 5-unit. Pitt over 9, which scares me, but we'll make it 5-unit. We'll just bet it real light. But we can see what's happening. Both games have been overs. Scoring a lot of runs, so the matchup here favors pretty high scoring games. Kyle Hendrick with the 12 ERA. You can't bet the Cubs, and the Cubs are favored. How are the Cubs favored when their pitcher's 0-3 with the 12 ERA? Another big mistake by Vegas. They make so many of them. Bailey Falter, 2-2 with the 4.34. Hard to bet that guy, but it's a great over. So we go over anticipating. Again, how far is the starting pitcher going? We hope we get. It's a joke. You get 3-4 innings out of these guys. You're totally screwed on your pick because you're only getting 3. I see a 12 ERA. They're going to give up a lot of runs, and then the guy pitches 2 innings, and you're like, well, that screws up the whole thought of the bet. And that's the difference in football. They don't take the quarterback out unless he throws 5 interceptions. And even then, I don't think they take him out too often, only for an injury. And then the defense is the defense. And, you get the injuries in the game, but otherwise, Mahomes is going the whole game. He ain't going one quarter. This is the difference. And the defense is the defense. You got Mahomes in the defense. Greg Jack. But in baseball, how long do I have Kyle Hendricks? 2 innings? 4 innings? Got a 12 ERA. God forbid he pitches a shutout for 6 innings. Now you're really screwed. Where's the 12? Not that he's going to go up 12, but you do expect maybe 5 runs by Pittsburgh. All right, Minnesota, Toronto. Minnesota's favored. Well, Minnesota's 23-16. They're not a bad team. They're not a cheat team. Bailey over 3-1 with a 4.42 against Alek Manoah. 0-0 with a 13.50. Again, I'm going to go over. Over 3-1 with a 4.42. He's a decent pitcher. But I got Manoah sitting there, and I got an 8.5. So this will be another 5 unit. Now, again, I'm putting too much emphasis on the ERA, like Alex Manoah, 13.50 ERA. You're not going to give up 13 runs today, but he's going to give up a few. And we need 8.5. The problem is how long does he stay in and how many runs does he give up? And then how good's the bullpen? And this is the problem. You got 4 or 5 innings of bullpen. So you don't know who you're getting, if they're any good or they suck. There's too many out there. So that's the X factors. How long does Manoah go? And then when did the bullpen, and how does the bullpen do? The Marlins, yes, they are. Well, you can just see the record. They're not very good. Houston, Detroit. Verlander, here we go. 1-1 with a 4.43 against Jack Flaherty. 0-2 with the 3.86. Verlander had a good game the first game, sucked the second game, is playing his old team. So I got to go Houston here. I'm not going to bet it. I'm just going to take Houston. Every time I take Detroit in a Detroit game, I lose. Over, it goes under. Under, it goes over. The most inconsistent team I've ever seen. What a terrible team, terrible manager. I just laugh at the Tiger. Oh, and the Lions too. But I got to bet on Verlander. He's embarrassed, and he's far too good to get banged around like he did last time and not come back with an effort. So if he's ready to go, I like Verlander here. Sure, he's a great pitcher. I always say that. I don't like Jack Flaherty guy. 0-2 with a 3.86. The difference is I know Verlander going in, I ignore his ERA. I know he can easily shut out this team. So I got to go there. But Flaherty with a 3.86, Houston can finally wake up and hit. So I'm just going Verlander, standard practice. All right, Philly and Miami. Philly's a 225 favorite, 7. Zach Wheeler, 4-3 with a 1.64. Braxton Garrett hasn't pitched. So we're going Philly, 5 unit. Philly's just too darn good. And it's a big one, though, 225. So just 5 units on it. The Yanks in Tampa. Tampa killed them yesterday. Luis Gill, 3-1 with a 2.92. Tyler Alexander, 1-1 with a 4.96. New York's favored, 135. I like New York here with Gill, but not a 5-star. Just thinking they'll bounce back. I don't like the Tampa Bay pitcher, 1-1 with the 4.96. Again, you assume 5 innings, maybe 6 with these guys. I don't know. The managers are just so stupid. Cleveland and Chicago. Cleveland a 165 favorite and over under 9. Logan Allen 3-2 with a 6.41 against Michael Soroka 0-4 with a 6.34. These games have been getting high scoring. I'm going to go over Cleveland over 9, and that's 5 units. And it's just, look at these pitchers. Let's assume 4 innings of pitchers. So let's assume 6 runs by these 2 pitchers, and we need 9, and we, 5 innings of bullpen. So that's how we're going to play it. But both pitchers suck. It's a clear over. It's a 9, so we got to be careful with it. St. Louis and Milwaukee, the battle of the Bears. Milwaukee 145-9. We got Miles McCullough 2-5 with a 6.43 against Bryce Wilson. 2-1 with a 2.40. So we're going to go Milwaukee. No bet. Just the huge difference in starter pitchers. 2-1 with a 2.40 against 2-5 with the 6.43. And this McCullough really sucks. Thanks, TK. Sounds good. Great game. You're welcome, Greg and John. Texas, Colorado. Colorado beat them yesterday. Colorado 11-28. Jose Urena for Texas, 1-2 with a 3.86. Ty Black, 0-1 with a 3.46. So what do you got? You got two junk pitchers. Texas is a 150 and a 10.5. We had the over yesterday, which hit 11. And I think we go over again today. So Calo over 10.5. No bet. Cincinnati, Frisco. Cincinnati got me yesterday with their pitcher. He didn't hit. And they don't hit. They hit 210. So Mickey Montez, 2-3 with a 3.55 against Kyle Harrison, 3-1 with a 3.20. I'm just going to go under in this game. Under 7. You just don't get enough runs from Cincinnati. That's why you got to look at the stats, because you think they're an over team and they don't score. So then you got to bet them under. So you got to know what the team is, right? KC in California. KC's minus 120 and 8. Seth Lugo, 5-1 with a 1.74 against Patrick Sandoval for California, 2-5 with a 4.84. We're going KC, and this will be another 5 unit. 5-1 with a 1.74. I got to go with them. Really can't go over with them. And California with a weak pitcher, so you got to just believe that Lugo beats them. Oakland, Seattle. Seattle's a 250 here, 7.5. Alex Wood, 1-2 with a 5.30 for Oakland. Luis Castillo, 3-5 with a 3.35. I'm not impressed. 7.5. Seattle is a good bullpen, 298, can hit. And Oakland is a decent bullpen and can hit. So neither team can hit. However, they've been scoring runs. I'm going to go over 7.5, even though I should go under, just because both pitchers suck. But I certainly can't bet a team. I don't know how Seattle's 250 favorite. Castillo's 3-5 with a 3.35. Alex Wood, never heard of the guy. All right, the Dodgers and the Chargers. The Dodgers are 115, 7.5. Walker Buehler, 0-0 with a 6.75 against Hugh Darvish. We're going to go San Diego with Hugh. San Diego's been playing them very tough, so I think they can win. Atlanta and the Mets is our last game, and Atlanta's a 125, 7.5. Bryce Halder, 1-1 with a 5.28 against Luis Savino, 2-2 with a 2.93. Let's go Mets. The NYMs. So let's review. We got Indy minus 5.5, Denver plus 2.5 in the NBA today. Both teams back against the wall, must win or they're down 3-1 and basically lose the series. Baseball, we got Baltimore. We got Boston under 7.5, Pitt over 9, Minnie over 8.5, Houston, Philly, the Yankees, Cleveland over 9, Milwaukee, Colorado over 10.5, San Francisco under 7, Kansas City, Oakland over 7.5, San Diego, and the METS, Mets. The plays are Pitt over 9, Minnie over 8.5, Philly, Cleveland over 9, and Kansas City. So there's 5 plays. So you can see how confidence plays a role. They had a decent Friday, but I went 3-3, and so I was a little bit. I didn't really love anything yesterday. Played the one game in Cincinnati, and today I'm back with 5 and the 2 baskets. I guess Greg and John, you just on for the picks. That's it. All right. So that is baseball and basketball. As Greg and John reported yesterday, he thinks Kirk Cousins is going to Dallas. I'm not sure. I haven't seen that. Penix should be the starter regardless. He's a better quarterback than Cousins. So what I don't get, this whole draft thing and this whole, the commentators, and they're trying to rank the quarterbacks. And they get caught up in looking at the draft day or the draft thing. How fast do you run a 40? How high do you jump? Oh, in shorts with nobody rushing, you can throw the ball 70 yards. That's nothing has to do with football. You don't play in shorts. You get rushed. You don't throw the ball 70 yards ever. It's a timing game. 1, 2, 3, throw. And you're missing the most basic premise is how did they do when they played? That's the thing you need to look at. Is how did they play in real games against real competition? Because that's going to show you what you're getting. So when I look at Caleb, I'm not impressed, right? Didn't look good against Notre Dame, UCLA, Utah, Oregon. Didn't beat any of them. What is that you like about him so much that you want to make him the number 1 draft pick? Had he beat all those teams like Penix, I would have said absolutely. Had the Bears taken Penix, I would have said perfect pick. He's the guy you needed, but you didn't take. You took a guy who's a hack, who's not very good in big games. On the field, you have a McOffense. USC runs the Oklahoma offense, and we've seen the Oklahoma quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. None of them have done really good. Murray's okay, runs around a lot, wants to run too much. Caleb doesn't run. Hurts, terrible. What were they, 10-1? They finished 10-8 and lost in the first round of the playoffs to Tampa Bay. Yeah, I want a quarterback like that. It's all system. Well, what do you mean by that, Howard? Well, the system that USC Oklahoma uses, it's a spread them out system. It's a running for the quarterback to run. It's a lot of 4 wide receivers running, just running out and getting open. So it's very friendly to the quarterback, but it's a fantasy. It's not realistic. It's not run in the pros. It doesn't work against good defenses, as we saw the Notre Dame game. We saw the UCLA game. We saw the Oregon game. It didn't work. So it works against weaker teams, and that's in college. It doesn't work in the pros, as we saw that. And the guy fell apart, right? He's not very good. If he was very good, would Alabama have let him go? So that's what you got to really ask those questions. You just got to ask why. Penix, then you watch, and he beat Oregon twice, and he beat Washington State and Oregon State and Texas in the playoff game, and Oregon in the championship game of the Pac-10. So Penix delivered in the clutch, and as you see, he made those receivers. The receivers, he would drop the ball in perfectly. I was watching a game. I don't know if it was Texas or Michigan in the playoffs, and he throws this 40-yard pass, and the receiver's running, and he drops it in, and right in his hands on a 30-yard pattern out. I mean, it was an unbelievable pass. It was right there. So how Penix isn't the best quarterback in actual games because he beat Oregon twice, I don't know what you're looking at. You're on drugs. If you don't take that as your reason, you don't know what the hell you're doing, because that's the only way you can do it, right? I go on an interview and they go, what have you done? Well, I did this at Mercedes and this at GM and this is my track record. I've done this. I've done $100 million budgets. There you go. So you know what I can do. You don't say, well, how fast do you run the 40? And, how quickly can you get onto Excel, or, things like that. They love asking Excel questions, Are you an advanced user? Everybody's an advanced user on Excel. Are you kidding me? This is what blows my mind when I'm interviewing. The fuck do you think I did at Mercedes for 4 years? You don't think I worked on Excel and SAP and worked with the manager? Like, what are you looking for? You're an idiot. What are you looking for? And that's what you're doing with the quarterback. So you're going, let's see, we got Caleb. Well, what have you done? Oh, absolutely nothing against good teams. Drake May, you look like shit in half your games. But you can throw the ball a long way in shorts, so whatever that means, without a rush. But in games, you suck. McCarthy, all you do is hand off and throw 5-yard passes. Not really impressed with you. Penix and Bo Nix are your superstars. Because Bo Nix at Oregon had to play Washington with a good defense and played well and beating, I don't know if they had to play Utah. Yeah, he killed Utah, which is no easy task with that defense. So Bo Nix against Utah lit him up. And against Washington, he lit him up twice. They didn't win the game because Penix was better, but it's not like Bo Nix, it was his fault. So you're looking at it and you're wondering, what in God's name are these guys doing, rating these quarterbacks as if they know what they're doing? And that's where it gets back to who you're listening to. And that covers everything. Women, poker, gambling, gold, the economy, the money. Who are you listening to and why? What's their track record? So, you talk to a guy about this girl. Oh, she's no good. Well, do you really know? Did you date her? Or what are you saying? Oh, the money. So some guy from Africa says, oh, our socialism will work. No, it won't. It can't work because the market can only be controlled by the individuals, not the government. That's why it can't work. That's the flaw in the ointment. Oh, no, but we'll do it better. What do you mean you'll do it? You can't do it better. It only works if the free market is involved, where me and you make up the market. There is no, well, yeah, that was East Germany, but we'll do it better in Africa. What are you talking about? You're on drugs. And that's because he's corrupt and he wants to control it. The one in charge of the socialism or communist makes out because he prints all the money. And they keep everybody poor and there's no free markets. That's why it doesn't work. It's got to have free markets. But again, who are you listening to? Does it make sense? So in football, you got to take Caleb. Why? Give me one reason I got to take Caleb. Was it his terrific performance against Notre Dame, 3 interceptions and a fumble? Was it his wonderful performance against UCLA, 3 interceptions and they got killed? What is it about Caleb that you think is so special? He lost to Oregon. He lost to Washington. Lost to Utah. We talked USC. The best team he beat was Arizona. It was 28-all at overtime. What is it that you see in a game that makes you like him? Oh, well, yeah, he throws a lot of good passes. Well, it's the offense. The offense is this spread them out, everybody runs deep offense, which he's been doing at Oklahoma and USC. But none of the quarterbacks are any good in the NFL, and none of them, and it's a gimmick offense. We all know it's a gimmick offense. So therefore, what exactly are you expecting Caleb to do that Hurts and Kyler Murray and Mayfield don't do? Because none of them are any good in the pros. Kyler's okay. He wants to run around until he broke his leg, and now we'll see what he can do. But that's it. So why is it if somebody yells and says, no, this doesn't work, or this works, or this guy or that guy, why does everybody listen? Because he's yelling? Oh no, in Africa, we'll do socialism right. No, you won't. You can't because you don't get the concept. That's like saying the gold standard doesn't work because we can't print more money to go to war. The gold standard always works. It's never failed. The fact you want to print more money to go to war, well, that's not part of the gold standard. The gold standard is I got $500 billion in gold. I can print $500 billion in that. And you know what? If I need more, I should probably raise the value of the gold from $20 an ounce to $100 an ounce. So just because somebody yells doesn't mean they're right. They're trying to intimidate you. But if you're stoic and you understand that you're right, the gold standard's right, the free market is right, communism, socialism is wrong, he can yell all he wants. I'm going to tell him to fuck off because you don't know what you're talking about. And that's the problem is people yell and people listen to him. Look at Drake May. He threw a lot. He's in shorts. Look at Josh Allen. He throws the ball far too. Yeah. And how have they done? They've been okay. They're a good team. They're no Mahomes. He's no Mahomes and he's no Joe Burrow. That's obvious. So quit saying he's the superstar. Now Miami, I see, is gonna sign Tagovailoa. What part do you think he's any good? Name a big game he's won in college or pros. You can't find one. He lost his college championship. He did come in and win the one against when Hurts got pulled at halftime. He did win that game because they didn't know what to expect. But after that, he didn't win any big games. Georgia killed him. LSU killed him. So I'm not really sure what people see in him. He's got a smooth throw. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Since when does smooth equal victories? And all the big games, he doesn't show up. So now Miami wants to give him a bonus. And the funny part is the Lions could have drafted him and they'd have been screwed. He wouldn't be anywhere near he is on Miami at Detroit. But anyway, another one for that. Detroit's got Hooker. They should be playing him over Goff. We know Goff stinks. Otherwise, the Rams wouldn't have gotten rid of him, right? They picked him first, which was a huge mistake, and he sucked. And he looked really good in the Super Bowl, getting 3 points, and he looked terrible in these playoff games. And then he goes, they don't want him. He goes to Detroit. So you think all of a sudden he's good because he's on Detroit? There's no expectations here. Then he has a decent playoff game, and then he shows up against the Niners and doesn't show up in that game a little bit, and they lose, and that's Goff. Looks good, doesn't get you there. Not a winner. Hooker's a winner. He beat Alabama, but nobody will look at that Alabama game going, this guy's good. I mean, they just ignore it. That game didn't happen. I mean, like you put up 50 against Alabama and they had Will Anderson, who everybody thinks is good because he went to Alabama. And not a problem, 50 points. But let's ignore it. It didn't really happen. See, they're ignoring the games, which is what the job is, right? How do you play in the game? I don't care what your 40 time is or how far you throw the ball. Obviously, you throw it far enough to put up 50 points in Alabama. Georgia's a different story because you had no choice. You went back to pass. They beat you to the spot. That's what Georgia does. So you can't really look at Georgia and say, yeah, that's what happens. So that's the thing. So because somebody talks tough or stern, you almost got to ignore it because you're going, why are you talking so tough? So I'll show you that clip again. So again, I don't understand people who ignore gold, who I don't like that Robert Kawasaki guy is he's putting down people for not understanding when nobody's taught it. If you're not taught how to drive and you don't understand how to drive, you can't yell at them, well, you should know how to drive. Well, nobody taught me. Or whatever it is. I mean, you've got to be taught it. Nobody taught dollars and gold standard and economics. It's Austrian economics. It's not taught except for by moi. And I learned it in 95, and it's probably not taught anywhere. Maybe Hillsdale College, maybe Auburn. But it's not taught. So how would you know? So you go to this economics class, and I went to one. I don't know what the hell the guy's talking about. Graphs and these strange words that don't mean anything to you. They don't teach to you. They just teach, and nobody understands what the fuck they're talking about. But that's what Austrian economics is. There's no graphs. It's very, what I teach, very easy to understand and follow. So I don't like that he's talking down to, I don't talk down to people. I understand they haven't been taught, so they don't know. And I try to teach it in a way. Now I try to teach it. If you refuse to listen, like at the pool, I said, do you have gold? And I say, no. Do you realize the dollar's going out and gold's your only way out? I got oil stocks. Okay, now I've tried and you turned it off. Now you're on your own. But I tried. If you would listen, then you would know. But when the shit hits the fan and the dollar goes out and gold goes to the moon, don't say I didn't tell you or try to tell you. You chose not to listen. And that's a big difference. So this is the problem. So when I teach you football or gambling or women or whatever I'm teaching you, I try to teach it at a very simplistic level that you can understand it. Otherwise, there's no point in teaching if you can't. If you can't get it, I did a bad job teaching. It's not your fault for not getting it. Your fault for not asking the question. My fault if I'm too high, like Mark McGuire. And he talks about the ring fence in the casino, and you're like, Mark, what the fuck are you talking about? That is fault because he's talking to bankers, but not to people listening. And he's very confusing. Like you just sit there and go, what are you trying to say? And then he had this Robert Kawasaki guy on, and he kept saying, what are you saying? Can you explain it to me? So, and again, now I don't like that Mark McGuire is coming out with this gold, oh, you can store your gold with me and we'll put it on a credit card for you so you can shop with it. Who the fuck wants to use their gold to shop now? Down the road, maybe, but I don't want you to have my gold, and I don't want to have a credit card that carries gold now, maybe later. But I how are you going to value it in dollars? How's that going to work? He doesn't even get that. It won't work because when the dollar goes out, what's the value? And then how do you use it? It's got to be accepted. So the grocery store guy's got to take a credit card that pays gold, and he won't be able to accept it. So again, they only think in today's terms. They don't think of the future, what's going to happen. So I was playing around on YouTube yesterday, which I like to do. And I ran across.
In 60 seconds, you'll know more about promissory notes than 99% of the world.
Who cares?
It added more reserves than it had in nearly 50 years. But why is China buying so much gold?
China's buying a lot of gold.
It wants to diversify its reserve funds and reduce its dependence on the US dollar. In the past,
when China
increased its gold holding.
Okay. Why gold rates hitting record highs? Gold in China.
When you think about safe investment, what options come to your mind?
Gold.
Real estate? Gold? Even the real estate sector sometimes becomes turbulent. So in that case, gold is often considered the safest investment. And China probably has taken this more seriously. Yes, China is buying gold like never before. Losing faith in traditional investments like stocks and real estate, Chinese consumers are turning to gold. And this has pushed gold prices to a record high. There is a nearly 50% increase since late 2022. That means in 1.5 years, gold prices have risen 50%. What you are seeing on your screens are gold beans. These are favorite among Gen Zs in China. These gold beans weigh 1 gram. Chinese youngsters find it a handy option for investment. Besides consumers, the major buyer of gold in China is the country's central bank. The People's Bank of
Okay, the gold beans are from Money Heist. That's how they got the gold out of the Bank of Spain. They got it into the beans, and then they shipped the beans through the pipe and ended it up in the water reserve. And then they took all the gold beans and made them back into gold bars. But they couldn't get the gold bars through the water pipe. They had to make them beans to do it. So a lot of Money Heist people like that. That's why they're doing it. Now, this has no bearing on the price of gold, what the individuals buy. That's not how it works. As I explained to you the other day, it's the supply and demand of the derivatives. That's what sets the price, which is incredibly stupid. But the people in China are buying it. So, as I teach you supply and demand, the demand for gold is huge, right? It's very, very high. So therefore, you don't have to worry about the price going down. So when the price drops, it's not because demand's down. It's not because of profit taking. You think these guys are selling these beans? No, but it's not them buying the beans that are pushing the gold price up. It has not gone up 50%. That would be meaning if it was 2,000, it's now 3,000. That's 50%. It's gone from 2,000 to 2,400, but not 50%. It's like 20%. Now, in China's different. They don't trust the stock market, and the real estate market crashed. So there is no other place for China to put their money except for gold, right? There's no real estate because it busted. The bubble busted, and they don't play stocks in China. They don't trust the stock market there. So that's another reason they're in the gold. Obviously, they're afraid of the dollar collapsing, and with Brics and everything else. So really what's happening is everybody's afraid of the dollar going to zero, which is what I say. And when you print 150 trillion of these, yeah, it has no value. It doesn't matter if it's the world reserve currency. People that say that are idiots. If it's like making 10 chocolate cakes and you're going to eat 10 chocolate cakes. And yeah, but it's the world reserve cake. I mean, it's okay because it's, like, what are you talking about? You can't eat 10 cakes and not get heavy and sick. So being the reserve currency and thinking you can just keep printing as much as you want, well, that's all dying because all these Brics countries are getting the hell out of the dollar. So your printing and printing is going away. All right.
China has been adding its gold reserves for 17 months straight.
17.
In fact, last year the bank bought more gold than any other central bank in the world. It added more reserves than it had in nearly 50 years. But why is China buying so much gold? Beijing wants to diversify its reserve funds and reduce its dependence on the US dollar. In the past, when China increased its gold holdings, it bought it using its home currency yuan. But this time, China's central bank is using foreign currencies to buy gold.
Which is
In
US
fact,
dollars.
many countries, including China, started buying more gold after the US imposed sanctions on Russia. These sanctions, triggered by the Russia-Ukraine conflict, included freezing Russian reserve dollars and restricting crucial commodity trades, such as crude oil. Limitations placed on Russia's reserve access by Western financial entities eroded confidence in these institutions. So central banks worldwide started viewing gold as a strategic asset for diversification and risk management. Even with all this buying, gold still makes up a small portion, around 4.6% of China's reserves. Interestingly, India keeps a much bigger share of its reserves in gold, almost double what China has. USA has the highest gold reserves, followed by Germany, Italy, France, and Russia.
Okay, USA does not have the 8,000 tons they're saying, but they're using bad data on this. The US has zero gold. And China's got 60,000 tons and Russia's got 30,000 tons. And it sounds like India is probably about 10 to 20,000 tons. But there's no way that the US has 8,000 tons, unfortunately. So that's why the debt's fucked, because they don't have the gold. They could raise the gold price and sell the gold to pay off the debt. That would be the only way they can do it. But they don't have any to do it with. I was on a phone call with my friend, what's her name? Chelsea. She's from Swim. She's a supervisor. And she said, "Oh, I heard Trump took our gold back from the Vatican." I said, "Really? Like, this is when he was president?" I said, "I haven't heard that." And I went on YouTube and I checked Trump Vatican gold. I didn't see anything. So I don't know I don't know how much gold Vatican has. They probably have some. They're a very rich country. However, I don't know how much is US, and I don't know that Trump brought back gold and how much gold. That's again, just because she said it, I don't believe it until I can see that he did it. But I don't see anywhere that says Trump Vatican gold. So we'll have to wait on that. Anyway, so again, bad information here. The US does not have any gold. They're too stupid to.
But China is on an aggressive buying spree. This surge in gold buying by both Chinese consumers and its central bank has caught the eye of speculators in Shanghai. They are betting that the gold buying trend will keep going, pushing prices even higher. Stocking up of gold by central banks has benefits as diversification of reserve funds, hedging against economic tumult or inflation by investing into this safe haven asset, and reducing dependence on the US dollar. For China, there are clear strategic advantages too of diversifying out of US assets, given the rising geopolitical tensions over Taiwan and Beijing's growing assertiveness in the South China Sea. So the switch to gold has helped.
So the question is why? Right? So you go, China's buying gold, get out of the US dollar. Why? Are they worried they're going to get sanctioned? Or why is everybody worried the US dollar is going to collapse? And that's how you must be stoic. Stoic goes, why? Right? Why are they getting out? But they are getting out, right? That's the key to it. They are getting out of the dollar and buying gold. That's a fact, Jack. So you must understand that, and you've got to see what's out. You're looking and you're going, that's it. That's what's happening. So you've got to understand China, India, Russia are buying gold, getting out of the dollar. Russia had no choice. They were sanctioned, but that's it. So you must understand that. You can't ignore that they're buying gold. And you then have to figure out why. Well, because they have to, because they have to diversify, because the dollar goes out. We don't want to be idiots and be in the dollar when it goes to zero or when we get sanctioned. So you can see what's happening. You can see there's huge demand in it. So off you go. All right.
China build up a war chest safe from American sanctions. Russia has already taken this step, and others may follow. What's more, China's gold buying spree could be the straw that breaks the dollar's back. For decades, we've been hearing predictions on the imminent demise of US dollar's special status as the world's international reserve currency. The gold rush in emerging economies like China could give further momentum to this race to de-dollarization. The US dollar, the world's reserve currency, could eventually be knocked off its top spot. It seems to be a question of when, not if.
Exactly.
First of all, I think it's good.
So you see what's happening. It's when, not if. You can't print $150 trillion. Yes, there is a problem. Oh, the MMTs. Well, we'll just keep printing and it's not a problem. You can just print and print because we're the world reserve currency and we can just print it off as if there's no problem. If I keep printing, assuming I won't lose value, which is their problem. This is the big problem by the Keynesians, the MMT people. Well, we'll just print to pay off the debt. We'll just print to do this. We'll print to do that. You can't keep printing. Like I keep saying, you can't have 25 chocolate cakes. You will gain weight and you will get sick. You can't ignore the fact. So you can't just ignore the gold. You can't ignore that you're printing too much dollars. You can't just print it and print it and print it and think nothing will happen. You can't go for it on fourth down. And then if you don't make it, there's no consequence, right? So you have to understand that. There's A and then there's B. If the ship hits the iceberg, you're going to fucking sink. You can't ignore that. Well, we'll just keep going through the icebergs. And if we hit one, it won't matter. I mean, that's how stupid these people are. So, no, you cannot just keep printing because you're the world reserve currency. It does not make you able to keep printing. You print too much, you go out. The Romans, the French, the Spanish, the English, they've all been reserve currencies, and they've all went out because they keep printing. So there's vast amounts. Look at the Roman Empire. There's vast amounts of time where this has happened. Now, the other thing is, I must clear this point up. Debasement is not inflation. These people who want to claim that they're economists, they'll say, oh, the money's being debased. The money's not being debased. The money's being printed. You can only debase metal, coins. The Romans debased their coins when they took the gold and silver out of the coins. That caused the inflation because you didn't have any gold or silver. But you don't, if you print too much of this, you're not debasing it. You're not putting less paper in it. You're inflating it. You're increasing the supply. But in nowhere are you debasing it with other metals. What a bunch of fucking morons these guys are. They hear a word, they run with it, they don't know what it means. It's Drake May all over again. That's where everything ties up. Well, yeah, but he can throw the ball a long way in shorts. How's he doing in a game? Well, he sucks in the game. Well, let's make him the first draft pick because he can throw the ball a long way. And isn't that what we need in a quarterback? No, we need him to read defenses and actually play good against good defenses, which you can't do. North Carolina didn't exactly win 12 games and go to the playoffs last year, right? All right. There's another gold one. Let's watch this.
Can't go? Do this to clear out stuck poop fast. On June 17th in 2019.
These commercials.
It's hard to believe, but the world is beginning to lurch forward to a. It's hard to believe, but the world is beginning to lurch forward to a new gold standard. Hello, I'm Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate.
I don't know
these
Steve
turbulent
Forbes
times.
if he's good, bad, or ugly.
No monetary system is held in such contempt among almost all economists and financial officials today as the old gold standard. The U.S. was on one for 180 years until the early 1970s. Despite numerous myths based on ignorance, the system worked. We never had inflation when the dollar's value was tied to the yellow metal, and the U.S. experienced the greatest long-term economic growth in human history. Since the greenback's link to gold was severed, our average historic growth rates have fallen by about a third. Median household incomes today would be at least $40,000 higher if our traditional pattern of growth for 180 years had been maintained. Nonetheless,
okay, we weren't on the gold standard for 180 years. We're on it from 1776 or maybe 1800 to 1913. We did get off of it a little for the Civil War. And then at 1913, when the central bank went in, we were not on the gold standard, which is why we had wars and the inflation of the 1920s and 30s until we got back on it after World War II in 1944 to 1971. We were back on the gold standard. So we weren't on it in the 20s. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Contumely and scorn for gold is universal. Events, though, have a peculiar way of forcing things once unthinkable into the forefront of consideration and then into reality. The signs of change are here. One is that central banks have been purchasing gold at record levels in recent years. Buyers include China, India, Russia, and a number of other countries, such as Poland. They are reacting to the growing doubts about the long-term value of the dollar, which in turn is a symptom of the perceived decline of the U.S. Another sign is the popularity of cryptocurrencies, originally a high-tech cry for help in the face of increasingly unreliable government fiat currencies. The problem here has been that most creators of cryptos, most notably Bitcoin, don't get that a currency must be stable in value if it's going to be used in conducting commercial transactions, especially long-term contracts. There are a handful of cryptos tethered to gold, but they haven't yet achieved the credibility and built the mechanisms to be widely used. Nonetheless, as governments flounder in their monetary policies, that will change. The binge of debt creation, both public and private, will inevitably kindle crises that cannot be brushed away. Total debt in the world today is over $300 trillion, an astonishing 3 times global GDP. And of course, we have the activities of the so-called Brics, originally Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and now including several other countries. Oil giant Saudi Arabia is considering joining. Their monetary machinations so far have amounted to little, but that's starting to shift. India last year, for example, began experimenting with gold-based government bonds. Monetary expert Nathan Lewis, who co-authored our book, Inflation, What It Is, Why It's Bad, and How to Fix It, observes, quote, "These would probably be very popular with investors worldwide. From the start of the floating currency era in 1971 to the present, a gold bond paying 4% would have outperformed all stock and bond markets worldwide," end quote. Zimbabwe, which must hold the record for hyperinflations, announced the other day the launch of a new currency, fixed to gold. Deep skepticism is warranted that the government has the discipline to make such an arrangement work, but the move is a sign of things to come. I'm Steve Forbes. Thanks for listening.
So what did he do? He just read what I have said or other people have said and just quoted it back. So I didn't see any original thought there. I don't know who the guy is. I don't really trust him. Who knows? There was one here that said, maybe it's this one. They're trying to get 81 countries to join Brics. Let's listen to the Colonel.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching Botum TV Heretics today. Hope you like that new intro. We'll be picking it up a little bit soon, but we wanted to go a little bit fancy today, especially that we have such an esteemed guest. We like to welcome once again the great Douglas McGregor, all the way from the United States. Doug, how are you? Afternoon.
Yeah, good to hear from you.
Perfect. I know you're on a tight schedule today, so we'll try.
I don't know who this guy is. This
in terms of discussing the relevant issues pertaining to Ukraine. So I want to start off today with a piece that David Ignatius over at the Washington Post has written. And this is an article about apparently a 10-hour long and, as he says, intense meeting spread over 2 days, May 10th and 11th in Vienna, between U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and China's foreign affairs official Wang Yi, who, as Ignatius said, that these talks actually seem to be creating a framework for constructive engagement. And I just want to give another quote from Ignatius. Ignatius estimates that, quote, some shared space seems to have emerged during the long, detailed discussions between Sullivan and Wang. They appear to have found a language for superpower discussion, like what once existed between the United States and both Russia and China, but has been lost, end quote. Wow, a space for superpower discussion. Doug, this seems like we're going back to some Nixonian formula of realism in foreign policy. What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't leap to any dramatic conclusions, so I'd be careful of assuming that realism is intruding anywhere in Washington. But I think that there is a growing awareness that we are simply not postured in any way, shape, or form to conduct two-front wars or two-front offensives or two-front policies of any kind. In fact, Washington is historically known as essentially a one-policy town when it comes to foreign policy. They can't really focus broadly, never have been able to. So perhaps this has begun to sink in. I also am beginning to detect an awareness that the war in Ukraine has gone very badly for our proxy, and that Washington would like to, if not pivot to Asia, certainly, I would say, divert attention to China and away from Russia. Whether or not they can come up with something that's going to be meaningful is very much open to debate. I have no feel for that at all, and I'm very skeptical.
Well, Seymour Hersh has reported in his latest Substack post, article, essay, whatever you want to call it, that apparently there's a group of countries in Eastern Europe. I actually saw this yesterday and kind of surprised me, that Poland apparently is leading the charge in pressuring Zelensky to wrap the war up, so to say, even, as Hersh says, at the cost of stepping down as president of Ukraine, which seems to me a little bit surprising because unless Warsaw is playing a game of 3D chess here, that being the loudest spokesperson of the Kiev regime in Eastern Europe, all of a sudden they're turning around and saying, no, you got to go and we've got to end this war. So my feel is, if this is true, this is probably happening under the influence of, a Chinese intervention, and that Chinese envoy that was sent to Europe will be in Warsaw this week, I think tomorrow, actually, speaking with our authorities. But what do you think about the veracity of Hersh's report? I mean, you've been seeing how Warsaw has been acting during the last year. We've had these discussions before. Would you impugn also a notion of realism on the Warsaw government from what you've been seeing in the last 365 days plus?
Well, reality is much more likely to intrude in Warsaw than it is in Washington. Let's be frank. You live next door to.
All right, I don't know. Somebody had said there's 81 countries wanting to join Brics, but I don't know which one it is. I'll have to find it. I thought it was one of him. We will see. Anyway. So this is the socialist guy I was talking about in the beginning.
Call your doorbell camera company and cancel the subscription. This brand new subscription-free mini.
My name is Andreas Peschke, and I'm the ambassador of Germany. And well, thank you very much, Siabonga.
This is socialism versus capitalism.
Reaching out. There's one thing I would like to mention. I listened to you very carefully when you spoke about the Marxist and Leninist principles of your organization. Some here in the room would know I grew up in a communist country. I grew up in a country called the German Democratic Republic, also known as East Germany. So I had a first-hand real experience of really existing socialism. And so we had all these Marxist theories. I read a lot of Marxist texts at school. We always had Marx, Engels, you didn't mention Engels, and Lenin in our rooms as the guiding figures. We had nationalized everything. We had nationalized the land. We had nationalized the enterprises. But then after 40 years, we woke up and we realized that it didn't work. So the socialism as we experienced it, the communism as we experienced it in East Germany, it simply did not work. So when the Soviet Union broke up, I think we took the destiny in our hands and joined our brothers in Western Germany in order to build a social market economy. So I'm just sharing this and to let you know. And I'm happy, because I'm an example. Maybe it's interesting to you to speak to somebody who has this first-hand experience. I'm ready to share this experience in more detail of how real existing socialism looked like, because
we are going to Washington, D.C.
8 years ago, candidate Trump promised.
We are going to...
My name is Andreas Peschke, and I'm the experience. I'm ready to share this experience in more detail of how real existing socialism looked like, because we made the experience that it didn't work. And maybe it's good also to try to learn. Everybody has to make its own experiences, but maybe it's also to learn ukufunda kwa maputa, kwa bengina, from other mistakes. So maybe that's something I would like to offer.
Socialism didn't work in Germany, and you're going to tell us how it failed. But go and also learn from China how socialism works, and it has succeeded in China. It doesn't mean if it has failed in Germany, it will fail everywhere else. We're not Germans, we're South Africans. In China, they've got socialism with Chinese characteristics. What stops South Africans from having socialism with South African characteristics? Learning from Germany, what worked, what did not work. Take the good things, leave the bad things. Why capitalism always resort to Chinese principles, to socialist principles, every time they get into trouble?
See, what he's trying to sound very strong, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. Socialism is the government running the markets, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't matter if it's German, if it's China. Socialism does not work in China. It's capitalist. Russia is capitalist. It didn't work. That's why the Soviet Union collapsed, because they had communism, which was the government running it. It didn't work there. It doesn't work in China. It doesn't work in Venezuela. It doesn't work in Cuba. It didn't work in East Germany, and it's not going to work in Africa. It doesn't work. But yet, well, it's different in South Africa. What's different about it? The government runs the market. Never works. It's like saying, well, it's okay if we don't have a gold-backed currency. Then all of a sudden you say, well, yeah, gold. Well, gold doesn't work. No, the dollar worked, right? Yeah, they printed it too much. Well, if we do it, we won't print as much. Gold doesn't work. I can say it, but it's bullshit and it's not real. And that's what you get. Some guy talking really tough, saying, well, no, it didn't work in Germany, but it will work in South Africa. Based on what? You're out of your fucking mind. There's no way it can work, because the market has to be controlled by the free market, by people have to run the market. The government can't do it. The government cannot possibly control prices and the market. It's impossible. You need the people to run it. Free markets. It's the only way it works. It works everywhere. It's always worked. It worked here. We've never needed socialism to bail out. He thinks because the Federal Reserve was set up to bail out the banks that he says, well, every time America gets in trouble, they go to socialism. We don't go to socialism. That's not socialism. Socialism isn't having the Fed bail us out. That's free market. in the free market, the bank's supposed to bail us out. That's what the bank is. It's sort of like insurance, right? If your house burns down and you go get insurance for it and they pay you, it's not going to socialism to fix your house. That's part of the free market. You went and bought insurance in case there was a fire. And that's what the Federal Reserve is. In case there's a fire in the banking system, there's supposed to be the insurance. And that is not socialism. That's free market. I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about.
When the banks failed in 2008 and put the world into a financial crisis, it was socialist principles that took the world out of that crisis through state intervention. Where was capital at that time? If we go now, we're in Pretoria now. Let's go to commercial crimes or go to liquidation or high court and all of that. Every day without fail, there are private companies that are being liquidated there. Who said if it's capitalist owned or private owned, it's inherently successful? Who said that?
I say that.
It's an ideological debate we can have. We know what happened in Eastern Germany. We know what happened in the Soviet Union. We know what's happening in China. We know what's happening in Cuba. So we can have a deeper discussion about whether this is really a way out. We sometimes get fixated on concepts, but in reality, you do the things that you say you don't want to do. Every time capital gets into problems, the state must intervene.
Bullshit.
Every time. That's when you now see.
See, this is the problem. He could say, I'm going to jump to the moon. I can jump all the way to the moon. Okay, but you can't. Every time capitalism fails, it goes to socialism. The fuck are you talking about? Insurance is not socialism, it's capitalist. And if you're not asking why is capitalism getting in trouble? Because of the socialism. You made the banks take loans for houses from people that couldn't afford it. You forced them to. Clinton forced them to. Janet Reno, we want the poor to afford houses. Well, they don't have money. They don't have credit. We can't loan. Would you loan somebody $5,000 that couldn't pay you back? Neither would I. Well, nobody would. Well, wait, Professor, you've got to loan, Steve money. You have to do it. Well, but he can't pay me back. Well, that's too bad. And I loan it to him. And then I have trouble because I'll never get the $5,000 back. And then I go to the government or I go to the Federal Reserve. Okay, guys, you need to bail me out because you made me take this loan. Okay, here's your $5,000 back. That's not socialism. That's insurance. Insurance is not social. So I love when they talk mean and they try to say every time socialism doesn't work, every time capitalism doesn't work, you go to socialism. Every time? Name one time. I mean, because it doesn't. Socialism is strictly the government running the markets. How in God's name was government running the markets? The Fed is not government. It's a bank. It's just like Chase or JP Morgan. The Fed is not the government. And the government has no money. It just prints it from the Federal Reserve or the Treasury. So again, but he says it, well, it didn't work in Germany and it didn't work in Russia and it didn't work in China. Wait a minute. I thought you said it worked in China 10 minutes ago. But we're South Africa and we're going to make it work. And it's like, are you fucking delusional? Well, I know you ate cake and got sick, and you ate cake and got sick, and you ate cake. So everybody who eats cake gets overweight and gets sick. But not in South Africa. We'll eat cake and we won't get overweight and we won't get sick. I mean, that's what he's saying, right? Well, for us, it won't happen. And you're like, what are you, insane? You eat chocolate cake, every day, you will gain weight and you will get sick. How are you proposing not to do that? Are these magic beans? This is a magic cake that you won't gain weight on? What are you talking about? Are you nuts? So that's really the problem with it, is people like this. Well, you didn't do it right. Well, what's your answer? Yeah, but our socialism work. Now, you know why he wants socialism? Because it helps the leaders. The leaders benefit. He will benefit because he'll print and he'll watch everything collapse like Russia and China, but they'll get all the money because he's in charge. That's why they like socialism, is the person in charge gets all the money. Look at Biden and then Pelosi and all these fucking idiots. They all are worth a fortune because they control everything, but everybody else gets screwed. And that's where we're at now. So I just wanted to point that out. He makes comments every time capitalism's failed, which is zero, you go to socialism. What are you talking about? Just because the banks bailed out the banks, it was because of socialism that the banks hurt, because they had to take the loans because the government got involved. That's why it's laissez-faire economics. Hands off. Leave me alone. Get the government out of it. Let capitalism work, and it works every time because that's the way it's set up. The trade's got to be free trade, right? If it works, so I'm going to loan you money, but you can't pay me back. I'm not going to loan it to you. Oh, you can pay me back, so I'm going to loan you money and you're going to pay me back. That's how the market works, and it never fails. So really disturbing to watch, this guy try to be a big, thing, and then he really isn't. This Douglas McGregor is very good. The colonel, he kind of explains the truth, and everybody sugarcoats that Russia's won the war by a mile, and they don't really want to use nukes. Why the U.S. and France and Britain want to keep pushing is just because I think they have this fantasy that we got out of the Depression in the 30s from having World War II, where we made a bunch of weapons. But we sold them to the Brits and the English and the French and Russians. We sold them the weapon, probably the Germany too. I don't like Ford because he sold Hitler cars and tanks. So, in a war, it's like Sherlock Holmes too. The guy sells to both sides. Oh, you need weapons? Oh, you need weapons? Sure. But we need a war so we can sell our weapons. It's a really dangerous dichotomy that, let's see, what will we make? We'll make missiles and tanks and stuff, but we can't just sell it. We need a war to sell it. I mean, what kind of disturbed people make these things that you probably don't need? Some hunting rifles or something, or pistols, but this whole idea of war is ridiculous. Yeah, we'll go kill 600,000 people. What are you, insane? How is that an answer to anything? And why are you even at a war with Ukraine and Russia? What are you fighting? You're not even fighting anything. Oh my God. There's no Hitler. There's nothing like that. So keep that in mind. This is all bullshit, but it's all to sell for the defense contractors. So they're keeping the war going, even though there's really no soldiers, even though Ukraine's lost. And Russia really doesn't want to nuke because they want to do business. Who are they going to sell their oil to if there's nobody left? Plus, they'll be nuked, right? Nobody wins. It's kind of like you break up with your girlfriend or you get divorced, then who do you date? Now you got to find somebody else. So that's really where you're at. It doesn't make any sense. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. So they're at war for what we're at war for is just to sell weapons. It's kind of a stupid idea to go to war. But we don't care if, but we won't send our men. We're going to send the Ukrainians, and they lost 600 people. Somehow doesn't, we want your soil now. That's why we're at, so we can kill get all the Ukrainians killed, and then we can take their soil because it's very fertile. Are you kidding? You don't need a war to do that. Just go buy land there. Anyway, so he's pretty good. So the gold, you can see, when you see the gold price drop, don't worry. It's really plenty of demand in China and India but it doesn't show, that does not move the price. If all the buying in China and India at these low prices is not affect the price of gold, it is strictly done by the derivatives, and COMEX is the one pricing it. Shanghai is supposed to have a gold thing, but it's the only item I've ever seen that is not based on supply and demand. People are buying gold all over. The price should be going up. It's not. Then the price goes down and people are still buying it, and they buy the little pebbles because they're cheaper. You know, you buy a pebble, it's probably, what is it, a gram? It's probably $100. Like, oh, I got gold. I mean, that's what I do when I get the 1/10. This is the quarter ounce. When I get the 1/10, it's $250, $260. And I go, well, yeah, but I got gold. And that's all you care about is getting the gold. So Tuesday, the summit in Kazan, Russia. Apparently 81 countries want to join. They won't join now. There's I think 5 or 6 more coming aboard. And Saudi Arabia, is waiting to see how much the U.S. will pay them off. But I can't see Saudi Arabia not joining because of the oil, unless they think they can be independent. And that's going to be the question. Can you get Brics gold-backed currency if you're not in Brics? So Saudi Arabia, do they want to get, the U.S. is saying we don't want to be in oil. So why do they want to keep partnering with the U.S.? Do they not trust Russia and China? But then how do you trust the U.S.? So I don't know what Saudi's game is. They're stupid not to join Brics. Again, they can get gold for their oil. They've got to take advantage of that. So we will see. They have time to decide is the thing. Argentina pulling out was just stupidity. They're going bankrupt and have hyperinflation because they're on the US dollar. I mean, this is what's lacking. People don't realize that the US dollar is inflated, is going out. So the fact you're with the US dollar, you're with a currency that's worthless. Well, we want to join them. No, you don't. You don't want to join the US currency unless it turns into a gold-backed currency. So like I said, my friend told me yesterday, Putin or Biden or Trump pulled the gold from the Vatican. And I'm thinking, if Trump pulled the gold from the Vatican, he's got it. It's not the US's. So that way we can have gold-backed currency. Well, okay, we'll see. Again, I haven't seen anywhere that it says Trump pulled Vatican gold, that we even had gold. And why would we have gold in the Vatican? This doesn't make sense to me. We have Fort Knox and we have the Federal Reserve in New York. That's where all the gold's kept for all these other countries. So you're telling me we didn't have it? And maybe that's what 9/11 was about. We had gold under one of the buildings and it was stolen. And maybe that's where this Vatican gold was held, was in the trade centers. Not sure, but that's all that was a gold robbery. It all goes back to Die Hard. If you steal $300, nobody will come looking for you. If you steal 300 million, they will look for you unless they think you're already dead. And they will look for you unless they don't think there was a gold robbery. Unless they don't know that the gold was robbed, they won't come after you. So that's what 9/11 was. Look at the building destroyed, and then, but we can steal all the gold, and nobody will even know that we stole all the gold. And that's what happened. So it's a very, I don't know. I don't know that we have any gold, to tell you the truth. I know some states are like allowing a gold standard, or they won't go on CBDCs or whatever they're doing. I don't think CBDCs in America will happen, because that'll mean, you can't just assume. But JP Morgan has a monopoly on printing money. He's not going to give that up. You're never going to lose money, because if you're printing it, you have the monopoly on it. Why would you stop printing it? So I think what'll happen, it'll be like now, you can get Bitcoin if you want, or you can have gold, or you can have money. And I think that's where you can have CBDCs. it'll be an option, but not the option. Now, I noticed I went to a grocery store the other day. We don't take money. And I'm thinking, yes, you do. You just don't take paper. You do take the electric money. And then I was watching Mark McGuire, and he calls it digital. It's not digital. Credit card is electric money. Debit card is electric money. It's not digital money, right? It goes into your account and electronically pays for the goods and service. That's not digital. Digital is Bitcoin or the CBDC, where it'll be just on the internet, where there really is no place. And nobody what if the internet goes down? You're fucked. At least now I got money. I can pay for it in cash, or it's my debit and credit card will work because I have money in my bank. So I don't ever want to give that up. Plus, sometimes I want to, you go to the casino, you pull out $300 and you gamble there. Does the casino want to take digital money? If they don't want to take digital money, it ain't going to happen because the casinos run everything. The mafia. So keep that in mind. I don't know. There was one here. I don't know. Canada's in big trouble. They're inflating, and the housing prices are going up. That guy who bought the $700,000 house is going to go broke, but he wouldn't listen, so he gets what he deserves. Dutch government bill proposes. So, if you ever want to know what's going on, I'll just show you the introduction.
If you keep your money in the bank just for a rainy day, that might not be rain coming down, just the chairman of the bank urinating on your head from his office window. On this show a couple of months back, our pal Leilani Dowding went to her local branch to withdraw a modest sum under 500 quid and was asked by the bank clerk for what purpose she needed the money. Leilani being Leilani, she opened what I believe our American friends call a can of whoop-ass on the clerk. But the constraints on your use of your money are tightening around the world. The Dutch government has a new bill proposing to monitor all transactions over 100 euros. That's about 100 quid, or indeed $100. All Western currencies are mysteriously converging right now, almost as if in preparation for the introduction of the digital Klaus Schwab mark across the entire Western world. Eva Veladinga broke the least deranged Dutch person in the Netherlands joins me. Can this really be true, Eva?
She's good. She's conservative.
Every single transaction over 100 euros is now going to be recorded and monitored by the state.
Well, if it's up to our Minister of Finance, Sigrid Kaag, that is exactly what is going to happen. Like you said, she wants to monitor every transaction that we spend. So that is basically everything nowadays. We all know that if you go to the grocery store, you end up buying 2 bags of groceries, and that costs you 100 euros. So everything that you are spending your money on will be known then by the banks and will be centralized. This information will be centralized and collected into a database that will be accessible for them and the government, I think up to 5 years later. So imagine, that's not just your diet. They won't just know what you buy at the grocery store. They'll know your medical bill. So they'll have information basically into your medical file. They will know what political party you give money to. They will know what you spend your money on a Saturday night. They will know everything about you through the money that you spend. And obviously, you wonder why. Well, our government says we are doing this to combat money launderers. Well, in the society that I live in, I would like to assume that we live in a rule of law, that we have a liberal democracy where the government doesn't treat its own citizens as criminals and that the presumption of innocence exists. Well, this obviously turns that completely around. So there's a presumption of guilt. You are treated as a criminal, and only if the government sees that you don't behave like a criminal, they will let you go. And that's obviously also the way that they basically guilt trip people into doing this, because people who oppose this, they will say to, well, do you have something to hide?
Yeah, yeah. That's always the way, that if you're not guilty, what do you have something to hide? And I take it when I get these things now every couple of weeks from people who say that the banks in the UK wanted to know for what purpose you're withdrawing 150 or 200 pounds. That there are all kinds of other people who are just going along and saying, oh, yes, well, I was thinking of putting down a deposit on a holiday, or, there's not widespread resistance to this. People are going along with it, Ava.
Yes, and it's pretty much insane. If you would say, hey, you have nothing to hide. Okay, well, why aren't you okay then with the police coming into your house every day? You have nothing to hide, right? It's basically the same thing. You would think that people would never accept that. But then when it's about banks and it's about your banking information, then suddenly it's like, okay, well, I guess I have no argument against that. But we should have plenty of arguments against it. First of all, like I said, in a functioning society, you would think that the presumption of innocence is worth something. We live in a free society still, is what you'd like to think. But also, this is very clearly a step towards a monetary system that is surrounded around mass surveillance and control. So if the government knows everything about what you spend your money on, that is only one step ahead from, or away, I would say, from what we discussed last week. And those are the central bank digital currencies. Because 100 euros, come on, that is basically everything nowadays. So, and they also, within this bill, is maybe interesting to mention, they also prohibit the cash payments of over 3,000 euros. So they're already cracking down on the cash too. So it's very clear where they want to go. They want to go to central bank digital currencies, a digital coin that they will control. And in the future, they will also control they won't just see what you spend it on, but they will be the ones deciding what you may spend it on.
See, I don't buy what she's cooking. I think it's like everybody knows your phone stuff, but I don't think anybody gives a shit about it. Just enough to scare you, like speeding. Don't speed, or you get a speeding ticket, and everybody speeds and nobody gets a ticket. So, not really sure. It sounds like that, but I don't think reality is. As the money collapses and the euro and the Swiss franc and the dollar are all collapsing, they're not going to have government to do it. These CBDCs will never work in America because we have to vote it in, and the banks don't want to go anywhere. You're not going to get rid of the banks. It's too corrupt. JP Morgan and Chase and Wells Fargo and Goldman, they're not going anywhere. So that's why it won't work here. I know when I went to the bank to pull out money to buy gold, she says, why are you pulling the money out? And I said, I think I said to go play poker in Vegas or something. Like, who gives a fuck? It's not your business. It's my money. Just give me my money. So as long as they gave me my money, I didn't give a shit what I said. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to arrest me for pulling my money out of my bank because I want to go play poker or buy gold or, go on vacation? I mean, so it's really, they can say it, but what are they going to do with it? Oh, he bought gold. He played poker. He went to visit Jenna. I mean, what are you doing? So I just ignore them because it's just noise. Right? That's part of being stoic. You just ignore this shit. It is trying to scare you, but where are you going with it? I don't get it. It's like me dating Daria. It doesn't mean anything. That's what we're doing, and it's not illegal. So go fuck yourself. And that's what happens. So I understand now. This is Amsterdam. So, and they're becoming very liberal. Besides the drugs and sex, they're trying to then do this liberal bullshit there. Anyway, I'll have to find where he's saying it. But he says there's 81 countries joining Brics. McGregor, I think, or somebody. So I got to find that. Let's see. Maybe it's in a like video or a non-like video. So I was watching a lot of Vatican ones, but I didn't see anything about the gold. And then I was watching Hogan versus The Undertaker. That was good. Anyway, I'll watch that today. Hogan and Piper against Orndorff and somebody else. See, then I get to this one. Gold will go higher than ever, than even higher. Gold will go higher than even higher. And so I watched about 2 minutes of it, and I realized that the guy they're interviewing is fucking clueless. He's a technical analyst. Well, what's that mean? It means he's looking at charts. Charts don't help you with a fixed market. In other words, it's all done by COMEX, and they do the derivatives, which affects the prices. Well, you can't chart that. That's all bullshit. So as soon as you see a technical guy on gold and silver, you walk away. On football, you walk away. It doesn't work in football anymore, and it doesn't work with gold and silver because it's price fixed. You can't say this is what happened in 2008. So therefore, it's going to happen like that. Absolutely meaningless. What happened in 08 and what happened now, what happened in 2000, what happened in 1979, it's all meaningless. You can't chart it. So people that try to chart it are fucking with you because you can't. There's no point. There's too many variables, as I said. We look at the variables to come up with the expected outcome, right? That's how we pick. And that's how we play poker and women and everything else is expected outcome by looking at the variables. But in gold, there is no variables because it's price fixed. It's JP Morgan doing derivatives, price fixing it. You can't do variables for it. So, it's just stupid when they try to do that. Anyway, so that's what's going on. Let's go through baseball one more time. So today we start off, we have Baltimore, Boston under 7.5, Pittsburgh over 9, Minnesota over 8.5, Houston, Philly, the Yankees, Cleveland over 9, Milwaukee, Colorado over 10.5, San Francisco under 7, Kansas City, Oakland over 7.5, San Diego, and the Mets. Now, obviously, we can't pick every game. It's silly to even try. If there's a game that you like you're a Yankee guy or Baltimore or something, that's who I like in the game. My picks are Pittsburgh over 9, Minnesota over 8.5, Philly, Cleveland over 9, and Kansas City. So I shrink it down to 5 games that make a lot of sense. So out of that whole jumble of 15 games, we're going with 5, and they're all 5-unit games. In the NBA, I like Indy minus 5.5 and Denver plus 2.5. As they're both down 2-1 and they both have to win. Denver lost both games at home and then won at Minnesota. So I have no idea. All I know is they did get the win. They're evenly matched and they have to win. They go down 3-1. They're done. Same thing with Indy. They're laying 5.5 to the Knicks. I think they have to win. They won game 3. They'll win game 4, and then we'll bet the Knicks for game 5. So again, too many variables in baseball. The problem with baseball is the starting pitchers go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 innings. And then they go to the bullpen. So if you look at a pitcher with a 1 ERA, you might only get him for 4 innings or 5 innings. You might see a 7 ERA and you might only get him for 3 innings. And then here comes the bullpen. and they march in their 13th. For some reason, they think this is a good way to manage, which is stupid. A lot of it's because the third time through the lineup, oh my God, the pitcher can't pitch. He can't pitch the third time through, so we need a reliever after 2 times through the lineup, which should be about 4 to 5 innings. It's just incredibly stupid. 100 pitches, and most of them don't even go 100. I'm noticing 85 pitches, the guy's out. What the fuck's he out for? He ain't pitching for 5 days. You only got 85 pitches out of him. You got a problem. You're not managing the staff well enough where they think they can only go 85 pitches. That's fucking ridiculous. Take basketball. Some of these guys play all 48 minutes. So that would be equivalent to the pitcher pitching, 9 innings. So it's really stupid. Verlander's going today, so let's see. He pitched good the first game. The second game, he struggled against the Yankees. They hit him pretty good, 7 runs. So let's see against Detroit, his old team, he should murder them. I would guess he'd shut them out because he's pretty pissed off right now. He's embarrassed. A guy like him gives up 7 runs to the Yankees in 4 or 5 innings. He's embarrassed. So look for him to, get all the pitches going, and Detroit's fucked. So that would be my guess. So I like Houston, but I'm not playing him as a 5 unit. I'm not betting him until we see Verlander start throwing the shutouts and the 1 runs that he does. Anyway, so that's baseball. Again, the variables that are questionable are the bullpen. When does the manager pull the starter, and then the bullpen, who's he putting out there, and how good's the bullpen, and all this stuff. So that's what you're really trying to figure out. Anyways, gold, we've got 2360. It'll come back on tonight when Asia comes on the markets. Now, talking about Daria, I did hear from her after swim. She's been doing that a lot lately. I'll say, okay, I'm going in the pool, and then she must read it, and then she says, oh, hi, love you, da-da-da-da-da, but I'm in the water, so I can't respond. And I hadn't heard from her in 3 days, as you know, and then I'm staying stoic, and then she finally texts me, hi, love, I'm home. That's all she says. I haven't talked to her in 3 days. Doesn't say what she's been up to or what's going on, if she's sick or this or that. Nothing but I'm home. Well, where were you for 3 days? What do you mean you're home? Today, I don't know if she's working or not. Now, I know there was Victory in World War II Day in Russia on Friday. I don't know if she goes there or not. I don't know how many really like the military. But where were you? And then, so I kind of got a little more aggressive today, saying, I thought I'd get a text this morning, as normally you would, because they're 7 hours ahead of you. So when I wake up at 8, it's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm expecting a, good morning, how are you, da, 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 da. And there wasn't anything. I saw she was on at 6, and then I see she's on at 10. And I emailed her, I'm up, I'm doing class. I send the picture, and off we go. So again, trying to be stoic with her, I says, why? You don't need to keep me in the dark. You went somewhere for 3 days, or you were upset for 3 days, or you did something for 3 days, and you don't want to tell me what's going on. And I'm kind of like, that's not good. Why are you doing that? So anyway, that's kind of where I'm starting to get a little frustrated, but I don't want to. I want to get explanation, and then I can react to it. Like last time, she said she's waiting on the mother to give us when she's coming so we can plan our vacation. And she was upset. She ran out of money and wanted to buy her daughter clothes. And So, but she doesn't want to ask me for it. So when I gave her money a couple of days ago, I included, here's money for clothes, and here's money for food and anything else. And so she's busy doing something, or she's really upset, or who knows. I can only tell you what she tells me. I can't assume. And so I'm like, okay, and I'm getting frustrated. Like, look, I don't want to be in the dark. I don't like being in the dark. I like to know I can deal with it, but I don't like that. So trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But to get, high level, like she's telling me she's okay, was what she was doing yesterday. And I could hear from her. But it still bothers me. Where were you for, I heard from her Wednesday night. Where were you Thursday, Friday? And then finally I hear from you yesterday. So for 2.5 days, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Now, last week, for Easter, she went with her friend. They had a barbecue. She shows me pictures. So it's really confusing because some things you tell me about, she goes to this group meeting. I don't want to get into what it is, but I know what it is. And I'm like, that's fine. That's good for you. So I'm really confused. Like, you tell me certain things, and then when you get upset, you don't want me to know. You're not sure how I'll react, or you might lose me, or stuff like that. And I'm like, well, for sure you're going to lose me if you keep me in the dark like this, because I don't like it. So we will basically see what's going on. Jenna's on her birthday. She's up north in the Ukraine at a pool, and so she's swimming at a pool. I guess the Russians don't bother her where she goes, that maybe there's no tanks or stuff. I mean, the Russians are there, but they're only in certain cities. So in her city, there's no Russians. Once in a while, a rocket flies through and she gets all scared, but generally, no. So I don't know. We have to see. She's okay, but see, that's the problem. Every day she texts me, and if I don't text her, she gets mad, and which I always do. But with Daria, it's like you go 3 days without texting me. Like, what are you doing? Like, but maybe I'm confused because I text her every day. So maybe she sees that I've texted her, and therefore she's like, oh, okay, Howard texted me. That's fine. Okay, I feel good. He texts me. He cares. I don't know. I got to figure that out. I says, I don't like being in the dark. We're going to have a good conversation when we meet in the summer. Hoping we meet, and that, like the mother can finally travel. We will see. She lives in the U.S., even though she's Russian. So she normally comes back in the summer and then takes the daughter somewhere. I don't know. I don't know the whole problem, because they'll take the daughter, but Daria doesn't go with. You'd think it'd be a family vacation. So I don't know what really is going on, which I hope to find out when I'm with her. We'll get a better understanding. Anyway, so that's the stoic part. I tell you that because it's stoic. Like, people don't always act the way you expect them to act. Sort of like the socialist guy who says, well, yeah, in Germany, socialism didn't work, or Russia, or Cuba, or Venezuela, or China. But, we'll do South African socialism and it'll work. We'll take the best parts of it. The only best part of it is you get the money and you steal everybody's and make them all slaves. So I don't know what you're talking about. See, in the free market, everybody is well off, right? And if you go and see, the free market is, I go to school or I get a skill and then I get paid for it, then I can take care of myself. I get money and I buy things. That's the free market. But if you want a communist or socialism, you're the dictator. And you don't take care of anybody and you get all the money. And that's why they want the socialism or communism. They don't care about the people. But what they don't understand is you're a richer country if you have people. If everybody makes money, then you get more taxes and you have even more money than if you do a socialist or communist country where you just steal all the money and everybody's poor. Then you got to take care of them. And they will riot on you. Look at Greece, and look at Sri Lanka, and look at Venezuela and Argentina. I mean, they will riot on you. Germany. So anyway, that's the point. So I'm, I don't know. I've got to. It's last time she told me. This time it was a quick, I'm home. I assumed from work. I thought I'd get more like I was working. I wonder why it was such a quick text. And then, so what I don't understand, she's busy with the daughter. She's busy with work. And that's the difference. Jenna doesn't work, Daria does. So she's busy with work and the daughter, which I know about. She's told me all this. So it's, where are you for 3 days that you don't have 2 minutes to text me? I'm at work. Boom, boom. I'm at group. Boom, boom. I'm at my friend's house. Boom, boom. I'm working with the daughter, doing homework. Boom, boom. So she normally tells me this stuff. So I can't figure it out. And I'm like, are you with another guy and you can't text me for 3 days? But I don't think that's it. It sounds like, no, I got to be home for my daughter. That's why we can't go on vacation. I can't leave her home. So now I'm like, what the fuck? So anyway, it's troubling to me. It's frustrating. And that's really what life is you can be stoic, but then you've got what bothers you is what you need to fix, right? Why does this bother me? I'm worried a little. Am I really worried? Like, what am I going to do? She's in Russia. Am I really worried that she's sick or in trouble? I don't think so, because if she really was, she'd probably contact me. Because when she goes to the doctor, she sends me a picture. I hurt my foot, I hurt my neck. She normally tells me. So it's really confusing. She is afraid to tell me certain things for a fact of me leaving her. That's what I'm noticing. So all I can do is wonder about that. But as we know from sports and we know from gambling, there's always a weakness, right? They don't have a good quarterback. They don't have a good defense. There's no running back, a bad coach. There's always a weakness to everybody and everything. And that's what you try to deal with, and you try to strengthen it. So mine is to figure out why it bothers me that I don't hear her for 3 days. Is that normal? Am I doing something abnormal, or is that like, no, I want to hear from her. And then I get Jenna every day. I hear from her. So wait a minute. So Ukrainian girl every day, Russian girl who works and takes care of her daughter, not every day. See, what gets you is the scam that you're supposed to hear from them every day, and that it only takes 2 minutes to text. That why isn't she texting? Well, it only takes 2 minutes. You can text me. Well, yes and no. It depends what you're doing. And if I'm texting you every day, it's like I'm on every day, right? So I'm on. So do you worry about it? No, you don't. Now I worry, where's Bobby? But I don't. There's no if your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, if you don't hear from them in a few days, you're going to worry about it. But you want to hear from them because you love them and you're concerned about them. It's like you want to make sure they're okay, right? That's it. It's a quick, how are you? You're fine. Okay, go ahead. But if you don't ask that question, then you get all the, oh, don't you care about me? Don't you love me? Why aren't you talking to me? In other words, when you don't hear it, you assume that they're with somebody else or thinking about other things, and you're not important, I think. Oh, she doesn't care about me. She's not texting me, or I'm not important, when I know I'm important to her. So it's really weird. And then when she needs money for food, then I hear from her. And when I give her money, she always thanks me. So then I wonder, oh, okay, maybe it's just when she needs something, she texts me. And when everything's fine, I just give her money. She went and bought food. She's got other things on her mind or hand, and she's not worried about me. I love you, and she gets that from me, so she knows that's fine. So this is it a me issue? Does she not understand that I'd like to hear? I do say it to her, but she gets caught up in other things, and she's busy. And she did say it last night, I'm fine, I'm at home, and nothing today. But what is she up to? That's the question. So, you just try to handle it. You try to stay stoic. And what I told her is I got to get used to this. I got to get used to not hearing from you every day, but knowing you're okay. I think that's the key. And that when we meet, that's the discussion that's going to be is why don't you text me every day? Now she's a very emotional, apparently shy girl, so I think she who knows what it is, but if something bothers her, she won't talk to me. She just gets into herself, right? That's what happened last time. So I think that's a lot of it is she just is into herself and she won't some of it she says I don't really want to tell you. I don't want you to know maybe you won't like me, right? So she said last time, well, I was very emotional. I didn't have money for the daughter to buy her clothes. I'm waiting for my mom to give me the date. So I was very, what did she call it? I got it somewhere. I had to write it down. She said I was desperate for money because I didn't have any, and I panicked because of the trip. I can't get a date. So she gets all emotional. She gets sensitive, she says. So that's probably what happens. And I'm trying to tell her, just tell me anyway. I'm with you. I'll help you instead of that. So those are her things. And so I tried to give her enough money to buy clothes for the daughter. And then I said, well, I said, I can come to Russia. And she says, no, I don't want you to come to Russia. I want a vacation with you. I want to go on a vacation with you, not you come to Russia. I said, well, okay, but it's important to meet. So I think she feels the mother will come. She's just trying to get a date and that I'll meet her when she gets the date and we'll see. Otherwise, so it's the same thing with Brics and gold. You have to, this Daria and the gold are the same thing. Why isn't the gold price going up? What's going on? Oh, they're doing derivatives. Oh, they're keeping the price down. Oh, the U.S. doesn't want to lose the reserve currency, which they've already lost. And the dollar's worthless, which we know. Even though they're the reserve, you can't print 150 trillion and not have problems. So nobody wants it. And as soon as nobody wants it, it's worthless. And here comes this BRICS summit. They're going to go on gold-backed currency. Okay. It's already announced. Okay. And then we're just waiting. But it's the same thing. Why isn't the gold price going up? It's the same thing when Luke comes on and says, what's going on with gold? It's down to 2,300. It's the same thing as Daria, right? See, so it's the same thing in poker. It's the same thing with gambling. It's the same thing in everything. Why didn't this happen? Why am I bothered by this? You checked raise me. Oh, the dealer has a 6 up and I got 14. I'm going to stick. And the dealer turns over a 5 for 11 and 10 for 21. Why did I lose? Oh, because I thought that it was 16, not 11. So there's always explanations to everything based on the perceived outcome. We get it a lot with baseball. Why did we lose? Oh, because the starter pitched with the 6 ERA, pitched a shutout for 5 innings, and the bullpen came on and they won 5-0. Even though the starter had a 6 ERA, you're expecting them to give up a lot of runs, and they don't. So there's always what you expect and what reality is. That's why I bring up Daria. It's just a part of stoic. It's the expected outcome. You would text me every day is the expected outcome. And as I'm telling her, I have to learn you and understand that you're not going to text me every day. But a lot of the times you do text me every day. Then all of a sudden, like it was Easter, and she texted me. We're going to my friends, and she shows me pictures. Here's the dinner. So she is texting me every day. And then all of a sudden there's this gap, which I assume is when she gets desperate and panics and sensitive. So something triggers it, usually money. But she doesn't want to talk to me when she's in this skelter. Hey, Greg and John. So anyway, that's my expected outcome is to hear from her every day, like I hear from Jenna. And when I don't, then I'm confused. They pulled in the reliever or something. But you can see it happens in everything, baseball and basketball. gambling, gold. You're expecting gold to be 5,000 an ounce by now. The derivatives keep pulling it down. Why? And that's the problem. Then when I show you the China stuff, you're kind of, it's in huge demand. Everybody's buying a little pebble gold and stuff like that. That doesn't drive the price. It shows you there's huge demand, which makes you feel good that gold's going up because of the demand, but it's not priced in supply demand terms. It's priced in derivative terms by the US, not the Chinese. So you have to understand the game. So I need to understand Daria's game. That's why I said I need to understand you. When you don't text me, what are you doing and why? And don't you think I want to hear from you? Or aren't you interested? Aren't you thinking about me? That's really what my game is. Sounds good, T-Gay. Girls are, well, people are people. Girls are fickle. Well, they're sensitive. She's very sensitive and very emotional. So Jenna's very strong. So I hear from Jenna every day just to say, yeah, I got a temperature. I'm going to the gym. I'm walking the dogs. I'm eating this. She tells me all the details, but we've met 5 times. So she's well aware of who I am and what I am. She looks forward to texting me and thinking about me and getting my text. Daria likes getting my text, but hasn't met yet. So she's not going to give me, I'm out walking the dog. She will say I'm going shopping, and then she'll show me the food. She'll show me the Easter where they went and had a barbecue and stuff like that. So some things she shows me, and now she's starting to tell me some of her private stuff. I go to this group meeting and, oh, okay, well, that's fine. I don't, what am I, some crazy person that, but she's used to Russian boys, and meeting me is blowing her mind because I'm totally different. But I think all people are fickle. I think what you're trying to do is identify the point. You're trying to identify the variable. Here's Jenna, Ukraine, and here's Daria, Russian, and they're totally different, right? Jenna is very strong. She's sitting there in the middle of a war. I don't know that Daria would be sitting there in the middle of a war. If Ukraine was attacking Russia, I doubt she'd be sitting there, where Jenna's sitting in the middle of the war like, no big deal. Oh yeah, a missile flew over, but yeah, that's okay. But most of the Russians aren't going to the city that she lives in. It's Kharkov, it's Crimea, it's Donetsk. And I've been to Donetsk before. And then Odessa they're supposed to take, but they won't take Lviv, which is near Poland. So Russia just wants the Russian-speaking cities back. So that's where it's at. But it's not that they're fickle. It's understanding their fickleness. Jenna doesn't like if I have a spot on my shirt, or if I shave and there's a few here, a few whiskers that I'd miss. That's what bothers her. I don't know that that's what bothers Daria, because I haven't been with her yet, where we've gone to dinner and everything. So I don't know what bothers her. Probably not the same things, but I know what bothers Jenna. She didn't like, I was scared to bring my cologne and my dye for my hair because of going on the airplane, and it's, liquids, and can I bring it? And she was all upset. Where's your dye? Where's your cologne? Why aren't you bringing this? And so I was afraid they'd take it from me. So, what's the difference? And anyway, but that's, Jenna wants to walk down and be with me and she wants to show off. Look who my boyfriend is. Look at this guy. And I'm not like that. I just am me, just being comfortable. So anyway, but the girls have their own things. They want to look good. I know Carmen would always put her makeup on before she left. So they want to look good when they go out. They want to look pretty. They want to be, look at me. She'd even make comments when I was with Carmen in Vegas, and she'd go, "These girls, they're like fucking crazy. They're out in shorts and a t-shirt, and they're not wearing makeup, and they don't walk right." And she was really like, "I can't believe these girls are like that." And she's all dressed up and looking nice. And that's how Carmen thought. She's like, "No, girls should look very pretty. They should look their best." Jenna gets dressed up too, and I'm sure Daria does. But that's the thing. So right now I'm struggling with Daria about where are you for three? Where's the text? Because my expected outcome is I should get a text every day like I do with Jenna. And when I don't, with Daria, sometimes she's saying, and I know she doesn't drink, she's saying that I need to I'm upset. I panicked and I got emotional and I'm sensitive. And so I was thinking about myself, not you. She loves me, but she doesn't. She's like trying to figure it out. It's like if we lose at poker, we might get upset, or we lose a football game or a baseball game. We get mad, right? And we don't like that we lost it. And so we're trying to solve that, right? Okay, what the fuck happened? And I think that's what she's doing. And so she's so absorbed in herself being sensitive, or I don't have money, and she gets all upset. I can't take my daughter and get her clothes for school. I think she gets upset in that, and she's worried about it. But it apparently happens a lot because I lose her for 3 or 4 days where I can't get the text, and that's what confuses me. But that's what I got to learn. That's what I told her. So hopefully we'll meet soon and we can get to the bottom of it. But once she meets me, she won't do that again. I guarantee it. Like I said, Jenna, I didn't hear from every day, but after going on 4 or 5 vacations with her, she every day, how are you? What's going on? And, and I'm right with her. She knows exactly. My alarm goes off 7:45. At 7:46, it's how are you? Or I'm texting her. She's waiting for me to text her, or she's expecting some message at that point normally, unless she's busy doing something. Anyway, I think I'm done. Try to go. My knee's still bothering me. I went to the pool yesterday, which helped. I took a hot tub and I was actually able to bend the knee, which I haven't been able to do. And then I'm realizing as long as I keep my legs straight, it doesn't hurt when I get in and out of the car or on the pedals. It's when I bend my knee and then try to move it. But if my knee's straight, I can do this. There's no pain in it. The pain is when I bend it, and then it's going to be there on my knee, of course. So that's really the thing. I went to get Chinese. I wasn't really planning on it, and then I went to the club and everything was fine, and I went to the Chinese and everything was fine. So I'm still taking my meds. I take the colchicine, which is the gout, and then the ibuprofen. Haven't taken any yet today. I don't want to take too many. You got to be careful with that, but it's just the gout. It just takes 5 or 6 days to get rid of now, where before it's a day or two. Now it ain't going anywhere. You gotta treat it. But if I if I get another half gallon of ice cream and eat it in 3 or 4 days, just shoot me. I'm too stupid to be a teacher if I keep doing this. So I don't know. I was feeling fine for 2 weeks, and I do that shit. And all I really want is one ice cream. One little go to the gas station, get an ice cream bar. But when I'm at the grocery store and I see the container, I go, "Oh, this would be good. I'll just have 1 scoop a day," which of course I put 3, 4 scoops into my bowl and do that 3 days in a row. Eat the whole fucking half gallon. That's why I don't buy Oreos. I don't have the control to eat 3 of them. I'm going to eat the whole pack in 2 days. Then I'm going to have gout problems from the sugar. So that's why you got to just veggies and chicken and stuff like that. All right. So good luck on the baskets. It's Indy and Denver. And in baseball, it's Pitt over 9, Mini over 8.5. The Phillies, Cleveland over 9, and Kansas City. The Phillies, I think, are the hottest team. I like Houston today with Verlander, but I'm not. If you do bet it very small. Verlander had a terrible outing. And one thing I know about superstars, when they have a bad outing, and you see this a lot in football, if Mahomes loses, he's going to be pissed, right? And Joe Burrow loses, he's going to be pissed. And Verlander losing the way he gave up 7 runs to the Yankees, he's going to be pissed, and he's playing the Tigers. So look for Verlander to pitch a very good game, and I would think they would win. But it's the Tigers. Who the fuck knows? Anyway, so have a good night. Have a good day. I'm happy I heard from Daria yesterday. I hope to hear from her tonight. Usually it's funny is I hear from her at swim a lot. I'll say I'm going in the pool, so she must read the message, and then she responds to it. But I'm in the pool. I can't respond back. But that's okay. At least I hear from her and know she's okay. They have Dak Prescott in the top 5. Who is they? And we know he's not a top 5 quarterback, so we don't really care about that shit. But who is they? This Mel Kiper who couldn't pick his way out of a paper bag? CBS? Who's CBS? Who's the picker? Let's see, Mahomes and Burrow and Josh Herbert and then Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers are your top 5. Then you got Russell Wilson, and you got now you're going to have Penix and Hartman and Bo Nix are going to be in there. Penix could be a top 5 guy. Bo Nix could be one too. Oakland's got nobody. Stafford's probably a top 5 guy. He's a good quarterback. Just throws too many timely interceptions. Seattle needs help. Arizona, Kyler Murray's not top 5. Brock Purdy's probably a top 5 if you really think about it. Pittsburgh's got Russell Wilson. Lamar's definitely not a top 5. I don't know who's on Cleveland. Deshaun Watson or Thompson Robinson. And Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Herbert is, and Mahomes, and not Oakland, and not who's the other team in there? San Diego, Denver. Yeah, Bo Nix. So he's probably one too. So, definitely Dak's not anywhere. Jalen Hurts, no. Dak, no. Daniel Jones, no. And maybe Jalen Daniels could be, but not right now. Cousins is at 10. Lamar is terrible. Well, we know Lamar is terrible. Cousins is not a 10. He's a 20. But somebody has to be 10. And then the problem is the criteria that they use to pick the top 5 or the top 10. What are you looking at? Big wins? Cousins wouldn't even be on the list. Touchdowns, interceptions? Cousins wouldn't be on the list. He's still got the Achilles injury, so he's not ready yet. I'm surprised Atlanta signed him. But see, Atlanta didn't realize they'd get Penix. So as I said, Penix fell to them. They drafted him, get rid of Cousins, and they'll go with Penix, which is what they would have done had they thought they could have got him. They never would have signed Cousins because Cousins is terrible. So we'll see. Not a big – Prescott's not a top 5. That's ridiculous. Top 5 what? College quarterback? I wouldn't even think that. So we will see. Anyways, not a big deal. And yes, we know Lamar's terrible. All right. Well, good luck today. Enjoy. Probably going to go to the pool and at least try to walk in the water and hot tub it and just try it. It's on the nerve where it's at, and I can walk. It's weird. I can walk fine. Sitting's tough because I'm bending the knee. But if I lay on the couch or in my bed where I got my legs straight, it's fine. And in the pool, I'm walking, so I'm fine. And in the hot tub, I'm not bending it, so I'm fine. It's hard getting my shoe on, but I can bend it a little bit enough to get my sock and shoe on. And otherwise, it's just good to take a hot tub with it, or just walk in the water, I think is good for it. So hopefully I'm assuming by Tuesday I'll be okay, but it's frustrating. This is like Dario. Why isn't she texting? Why is my leg like this? See, these are the same questions to the same, they're the same questions, just in different areas. All right. Enjoy, everybody. Again, Brics on Tuesday, really Monday night when you wake up Tuesday. Who knows where gold will be at, but buy as much as you can. The dollar's going out. All right. Take care, everybody.